Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coffee with Craig show. We'll be talking about commercial real estate in Central and Eastern Europe. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of Coffee with Craig show. We're here with Krzysztof Zanussi. Krzysztof, thank you for joining us today on the show. Back.
Thank you for inviting me.
Usually, no one wants to come back after the first show, but we're welcome, and thank you for being so brave to do the next show with us.
I didn't get discouraged.
Yeah.
So everything is okay.
Excellent. So thank you for coming and joining us. And we want to just talk about a lot of different things with you because you've had such a, when I was looking back at some of your, let's say, winning awards in 1960, winning in Cannes and these kind of awards, and now you're a film. Last time we were shooting, you were off to the next day off to Milano for winning another award, I think, in a film festival, and same with today. Yes, going
Right, for another festival. So that's part of my life, festivals.
Uh-huh.
But you make films for the audience, not for the festivals.
Exactly. So tell us about this one that I know you put it out this spring, and this festival is you're going to be talking about this film to even later today. Yeah.
Oh yes, because there is a festival in Kazimierz on
Uh-huh.
Vistula River, a very nice Renaissance little city,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a festival held already for more than, I think, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a very good audience. There is a very good audience from all over over Poland. So I have a chance to introduce my latest film, which has difficult time with this distribution because it talks about topics which are not very popular nowadays.
Uh-huh.
However, I believe they are valid because film is about God and mathematics.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh.
So mathematics is unproblematic. People
Uh-huh.
understand what it is. But God is a notion that is not very frequently touched
Right.
in our public. And the question is like from late middle age philosophy question, is there something or nothing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So something means there is some higher intelligence above us and that world makes sense. And if not, world is chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And all what happens is just the pure blind chance.
Right.
Very, very difficult point of hesitation. In my age, I understand that this is a very, very urgent question. What do I think about it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there somebody or not?
Right. And in Poland, where there's 98% pretty hardcore Catholics, you're probably causing a little earthquake through this
Well, maybe
sector.
too much to say, but definitely there are different kinds of religiosity. There is this religiosity which is a cultural habit,
Mm-hmm.
but there is also this metaphysical approach to the very beginning of religiosity. That means notion of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
That we admit that something will never be known to us,
Right.
because we're limited. We have 3 dimensions, physical dimensions, and 1 dimension of time, which is also related to human being. It is not universal. Maybe for some other beings, time may run in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
but it's unimaginable for us.
Right. Right. So you said you're having some issues with distributors. Actually, are
Well,
they feeling under pressure of distributing
no, there is
this
a
type of movie?
general decline of selling admissions to cinema
Mm-hmm.
after COVID. That's a bad moment. But whenever I travel and I meet the audience, I have the very strong feedback. So it is not an illusion because I have some experience. I know
Sure. Sure.
sometimes it is only illusion, but here it is not. Some people really want to have this reflect, to think what is behind the curtain, what is behind this wall. Is there something or not? And as 19th century is well behind us, and in 19th century developed humanity was almost sure that there is no God.
Uh-huh.
Today, the very advanced physics says so much about mystery and about things which are unimaginable for us, that there is a new opening, and I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an ex-physicist myself, not accomplished, but still I have this formation, and that's why I refer to modern physics, to physics of Niels Bohr and of quantum theory, where things which are evident for us are not evident at all.
Mm-hmm.
Something may exist and not exist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very
Oh gosh.
disturbing
All right.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't correspond with my daily experience, but my daily experience is false.
Right. Right. So do you think most of the audience wants to go to a movie where they really are thought provoking, or do you think it's more American style, or like
Well,
mindless entertainment
no,
and
well,
just
mindless entertainment is absolutely legitimate, and we have a right to be lazy. We have right to be entertained.
yeah,
We have a right to overeat.
yeah.
Many things we believe we may do, but they are not good for us. Means entertainment is fine, but there must be also some space
Mm-hmm.
for reflection, for some consideration. What is all this life about? And if we don't think about it, then we end up as clients of the psychologists, and that's
Right.
not a good solution.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good for them.
Right,
They can give you some pills and talk to you.
right, and listen to you, but it is not disinterested
Right.
interest. It is paid, and that's the difference. Friendship is something what is gratuitous,
Exactly.
and we have to look for friendship and not for psychologists.
Right. Oh, and by the way, Happy Names Day last week.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
I
Right.
was just thinking that was Tuesday or Thursday last
Right,
week, I think.
exactly.
Okay,
Yes, it was.
so as you're 84 years young, how do you see your daily life, or let's say the next projects? What do you see kind of going forward, or what would you like to do?
Well, I love my work,
Mm-hmm.
so by all means, I want to continue. I'm writing a new script that was commissioned by Polish television, and I work a little bit for theater, mostly abroad, not in Poland.
Uh-huh.
But I love this work, and however tired I may be, it doesn't matter. I'm still ready to get up in the morning and run to the set or to the theater and make a rehearsal.
Right,
That's
right,
my great joy. So I have my relatives in Italy who retired, and they watch at me with some surprise. Why do you work when you are not forced to? But I work because I love my work.
right, and I think it keeps everyone young if they're doing something every morning.
If
Yeah,
they like it,
yeah, if they
because
like it.
if you
Yeah.
hate it, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, if you're the garbage man, maybe you want to
Right.
retire, right? Right.
Yeah.
But if you're creating interesting things, and you mentioned Italy, so when
Uh,
you said you're doing theater abroad, I don't know, I just think Italy at the
that's
moment.
right.
But is it?
I worked a lot also in Russia. I worked a
Hmm.
lot in Germany. There were three countries where I was working in theater quite a lot. Unfortunately, theater has life of a butterfly, so it dies very soon, very very
Uh
fast.
huh. Uh huh.
It is sometimes recorded, but nobody goes to study old performances, so they have short life. But that's also beautiful because we have this immediate reaction of the audience.
Hmm.
But just recently, I was with a play that I directed in Italy, play written by my friend and colleague Rocco Familiari. I had an opportunity to attend the performance in a prison in Naples,
Ah.
and that was arranged by Italian authorities. And I had a chance to talk to the prisoners afterwards. It was most interesting and very moving to see people who sometimes have very long sentences, like 40
Ooh,
years
that's a long one.
for double murder,
Okay.
and quite a young man.
Did they have a couple security guards around you when they're?
They were, but that was not necessary. You cannot predict when aggression will come, but there was no aggression.
You didn't feel he was angry
No,
at you
no,
or
no, not
anything?
at all.
Okay.
But he was asking a very basic questions: how to arrange, how to organize your life when you know that you will be never free, because 40 years
Mhm.
is eternity, so forever. So you have to sit in within these walls and make sense of your every day.
Right. Right.
And because I made a film about mathematics, they were all asking me, is it possible to find some domain when you may put yourself entirely and forget about the world? And that's one of the options that all we have.
Right. Actually, that's probably a pretty good question for a guy that's in a small room for 40 years, how to not go
Right,
crazy, yeah?
right.
And
And
how
he
to
is also in
Mhm.
his 20s.
Ooh, that's a hard sentence, I would imagine, yeah.
Sure, it
Yeah.
is.
So how did that just the prison thing sounds interesting. I assume that's your first your first performance in a prison or first type of thing like
Well,
that?
I had some
Or
meetings in Polish prisons,
uh-huh.
but with screenings of the films. And that was a very interesting initiative for prisoners who were, after long sentences, getting out. And that's a very big change because after sometimes 20 years,
Right.
they have to start a totally new life and they have a new interest in life because before, when they were having long, long years ahead of them, they didn't care about life in freedom.
Right, right. And
But,
no, and everyone telling them what to do. It's
right,
almost easier, right?
absolutely,
You
because
know.
everything is organized. And
Hmm.
here, this responsibility is a new factor in their life. But that's a great privilege of my profession that I have an excuse to be involved in so many different actions. Recently, quite 2 weeks ago, I was opening a center of one of the provincial cities, purifying the water of the city.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's nothing to do with film, but it is a fantastic idea that something what is in canalization
Hmm.
may suddenly be useful for fertilizers. And the idea that the local community has found they found an inventor who has a new technology, and maybe this technology will be spread over the whole world.
Hmm. They're
But
testing
this
it there,
they are
yeah. Okay.
testing this the first one,
Hmm.
and that's so exciting to meet such people who invent something new, something unknown, something, and they do it in a small provincial city. It is not in metropolitan university.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
Easier to start in a small place, I guess, and
Well,
get
but I
everyone to
like
agree.
people who have some ideas, some inventions, some initiative. If they have it, their life is a good example for the others.
Right. And tell us a little bit about, because I know you're a professor at one or two universities. Tell us a little bit about how that's going and how what you like to see about what you like about
Well,
this job. Yeah.
I've been lecturing and I'm still professor at Katowice in Silesia University,
Uh-huh.
but that's film and performing arts department. So it is in a way very simple.
You know that job,
I
let's
know
say.
that
Yeah.
job and they know what they want, but it's far more interesting that I'm lecturing also in Collegium Civitas, which is a university owned by Polish Academy of Sciences.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And they're very mature people who are studying foreign the international relations. They're studying sociology, biopsychology, journalism, and they have my semester, half year. I am talking about life
Uh-huh.
and showing. I use the device of Shakespeare that art, in my case, it is narrative art, is a mirror
Hmm.
on the path of the universe. So showing some regularity in various narratives
Hmm.
and showing that they apply to us, to our life. And this is for me a very interesting and very creative kind of contact with students who have chosen my lecture. And at the end, as a test, I ask them to disagree with me.
Hmm.
Because when they disagree, then I understand that they were listening critically. And that's very important. And that's the real lesson. Read everything with critical mind. Don't buy too easily ideas of the others without testing.
Right,
Test
right.
each idea and think about the sources where this idea comes from.
Well, these days in university, you're probably the only class that actually is teaching them a little bit of
Maybe not the only one, but definitely I try to
one of the few. Yeah.
to contribute
Yeah.
to it.
So how was that received? Did you really get a lot of people, a lot
Well,
of
listen, I
students?
had to talk to them at the end, and
Uh-huh.
it lasted almost till midnight because each wanted a longer talk.
Yeah.
So it was apparently an exam, but in reality, it was a human contact.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
And that's what students are really missing nowadays because universities are becoming factories producing engineers, doctors, but they have to produce human beings,
Yeah, yeah.
form them, and give them an opportunity to learn how other people live. That's why I believe that narrative art is so important.
And when you're talking to a bit of the faculty there, do they seem to be on the same wavelength as you? Like, hey,
Well,
we have to do more of this humanity
some
or
of them do, some of them don't,
uh-huh.
but they don't protest against my subject matter.
Uh-huh.
And what I find funny that students usually choose me as a favorite professor, but not for the merit, but simply because I show fragments of the films,
Oh, right.
and I
Okay.
cannot be compared with somebody who teaches them statistics, which is a very
Yeah.
severe and very, very,
Right.
very, very important discipline.
So a bit of entertainment.
So
Yeah.
I bring a bit of entertainment,
Yeah.
even if I talk about philosophical issues, even if I talk to them about the concept of God and destiny and blind chance.
Right. So kind of just going back a little bit to your plans for the future, or the plan, let's say the plans for the next projects. What do you want to deliver to the public? What do you want them to see in the next film or the next films?
Well, there are 3 points. First, because of my age, I know that it's ridiculous to make plans when you're old, but still I make them.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
of
I
course.
don't deny that still I'm aware that all these plans
Hmm.
can be cut at any moment. But otherwise, there is another saying which is, well, in an interview, I often use it, saying, if I knew really what is the message, I could have sent an SMS.
Okay.
But it means that the message that is verbalized, that is put into one phrase, is not an essence. When you share with other people your outlook on life, something by osmosis
Hmm.
is reaching them. And I'm often surprised that I said something what I did not expect that I intended. But this is true.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
work, what I've done is true, it is true. If I imitate somebody, then you see that there is some falsity. So I'm talking about life and about the issue that what is maybe unfashionable, saying that we have to respect rigor, values,
Hmm.
that we compete, and there is no life without competition. It has to be a fair competition, and we have to choose well what are on which field we compete. But I have no, I don't believe that tolerance and dialogue and inclusiveness, that all these ideals will resolve our problems. We
Hmm.
have our problems to go far deeper. And well, as a Christian, I would say the only solution is love, but love is something very difficult. And love is something on what you have to work. It
Hmm.
is not just kind of a breeze of feeling. No, it is more. It is an attitude.
All right. Not just putting a post on Twitter and saying
Right. Yes.
world peace. That doesn't
Right.
fix it.
That's too
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Yes, inexpensive, and all values cost.
Right.
There
Yeah.
is a cost of all of them.
So what about the whole sector of movie making these days? I mean, do you see more investment from, let's say, the government or institutes or companies that want to get messages
Well,
out? How is
in
this?
Poland, we have this system, which is like in France, like in many other Western European countries in the European Union, that we have a fund which is coming automatically from all the advertisement on television. Some percent, very
Hmm.
small,
Mm.
one and a half
Hmm.
percent, goes, and from all tickets sold, little percentage, one and a half, goes to the national fund. And this fund is distributed always arbitrarily by some commission and gets to more ambitious film projects,
Uh-huh.
because the commercial film projects find financing from
They
financiers.
get their own money. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right, that's
Hmm.
natural, unless the project has some cultural meaning, as it happens sometimes for let us say, to improve the let's say image of the country, then some public money is put to it.
Hmm.
And I don't complain. The system is theoretically good. In practice,
Hmm.
it needs to be reformed every year because things degenerate very
Sure.
easily,
Sure. Okay.
especially when there are arbitrary decisions and somebody has to say, I like this project, I don't like this project.
Well, that happens, I guess.
Right?
Yeah, I
It
mean,
must
that's
happen.
it comes down to, if people are funding it, it's because they like it. I imagine if
Yes,
there's a
absolutely.
committee, and I imagine you're dealing with, over the years, you've dealt with many of these committees in different
Oh,
levels.
yes.
Yeah.
And I know how often they are wrong
Uh
and how often I was wrong.
huh.
Unfortunately, I have to admit it.
Right. Well, and how about TV? Do you see that playing a bigger role now, or do you?
I would say generally that there is audiovisual narrative art.
Hmm.
And if it is even stage, which is a live theater, or is it TV, or is it computer, wherever we watch this story about other people,
Mm-hmm.
it is more or less the same kind of matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it is absolutely substantive, well, I would say quintessential for humanity, because unlike all animals, we are the and only animal that tells stories of grandparents, of distant neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it among dogs, we don't have it among animals. They don't know anything about the experience of their grandparents.
Sure.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what brought humanity so far, because we know what was invented because before we were born.
Mm-hmm.
And this is transmitted by narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why it is not only entertainment, it is also education, formation. We are we are formed by stories that we were told.
Right. And when you're just a bit of, maybe a bit of technical, but when you're filming something, let's say before the internet, you knew it was going to be on the big screen, you knew exactly how you wanted little things to appear. And now half of the people are going to watch it on their phones.
Right.
Does this affect how you're getting your message when you're thinking, oh, half of the people are going to watch it in the car on their phones? We need to film this a little differently or say it a little differently, or
Well,
how do
it
you?
has to be simply far more primitive.
Uh-huh.
And that's why it is kind of a decline. We went far away, far forward with developing film language. And let me take one of the filmmakers I respect very much, Terrence Malick,
Mm-hmm.
American filmmaker with a great sensitivity towards something what is metaphysical. How could I watch his film when there are moods, when there are very delicate notions on cell phone?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Impossible. I can watch Columbo or any criminal story
Mm-hmm.
in such a way, but for more advanced, more penetrating, more involving message, I need 100% of the attention of my spectator.
Right.
And this is only possible in cinema,
Mm-hmm.
in silence, in uh, black hole. Then I have a chance that I can grasp 100% of viewers' attention.
Mm-hmm.
And there, it will be a diversification. Some stories may be told for for the audience that will watch it on telephone, but some not.
Yeah, you just can't get across they're not seeing the message, I
I'm
think. Yeah.
afraid not.
Mm-hmm. So it still comes back to you need to get them in the theater, get them to
Mm.
turn their phones off, and let's say relax and get a full attention, which is harder and
Right.
harder, I would
Well,
imagine.
in fact, the attention is not bound to relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
Be attentive means concentrate
True.
on what I offer you, but is it worth concentrating on? I, as an author, has to be autocritical too.
Right.
It is a
Right.
big risk. I beg my audience, please give me your attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I swear I will offer you what I can produce as best. But do I succeed? It's up to the audience to decide.
If they like it or not. So generally more movies to come, more films to come. That's the plan
That's
or
the
the
plan, and that's some books because I also publish my book of scripts, which I am not going to shoot anymore because there is some realistic limits. I have it also in English.
uh-huh.
So if somebody wants to take some of my abandoned ideas, and at least my students, they can do it.
Right.
They're welcome.
So when you're talking, I mean, everyone sometimes, I mean, these are all generally adult students probably that want to
Right.
make movies themselves. So they must
Right.
be coming to you with ideas
But they
and
must have some life experience because if their life experience is based only on watching other movies,
Mhm.
it becomes sterile
Right.
and you feel it
That
automatic very often.
right. So do you get a lot of those guys coming to you with, let's say, ideas of just stuff they've seen, and you're like, go out, live a little bit, and then come back with some.
Especially when they apply to the film school, I always try to tell them, take 1 year, leave and make a trip around the world with no money. then you will bring some experience.
Then you'll have a great movie, right? I mean,
They have a
potentially,
chance.
yeah,
You
it's a
have a
chance to
you
have a
have a
great
chance.
movie. Yeah, great. Well, I know we're running a little bit out of
Right.
time. You've got this event in
Right. Festival.
Kazimierz, yeah, film
Right.
which Kazimierz, great place, yeah, great
Beautiful
place.
place and it's really great for vacations.
Maybe just one last thing because it just seems like we can't have a little bit of an interview without talking a little bit about the war and what's going on and how you see this what you see because I know you also going to the border. Yes, you're going to
Right.
the border
Right.
for
Right. Right.
another cultural festival.
Right.
Yeah, is that next week or is
This is
that's
the end of
next
this
week?
week.
So what do you at the cultural? Let's talk about the cultural festival because something very interesting that people should go to and see. What do you think is going to happen there? Or how do you see this playing out?
Well, artists are usually not very poor prophets, so I don't recommend my reflection. But it is a lingering war,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm afraid it may last even longer. But as I believe it is the last colonial war in the world,
Mm-hmm.
because Russia is an empire, a colonial empire, and this must undergo some transition because there is no room for colonialism anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So this movement of independent national states that started with Napoleon must conclude, and that's why it is clear that it is a hopeless war, and it's very bad for the world. It is very bad for participants. It is very bad for Russia as well,
Mm-hmm.
not only for Ukraine. But I hope, as always in history, surprise is a solution. Without some surprising turn of events,
Mm-hmm.
it will linger like that. It may take far more time and far more human lives, so it is tragic. I hope it will stop, and I expect some kind of miracle, something unexpected,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
should happen.
Okay, great. Well, Krzysztof Zanussi, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for coming back, and you'll definitely be invited to come back and talk more
Thank you very much.
after the next show. We'll see how we'll invite you back and like to hear a bit more about the next one and plans for how this one worked.
Thanks a lot.
So great. Thank you for the show, and we'll get you to the next film festival later today.
Great.
Thanks. Great. Good to see you. Thank you all for watching the Coffee with Craig show today, our special edition with Krzysztof Zanussi. Great filmmaker and publisher and just everything. Yeah, and knowledge of the world. Yeah, so next year a bit more knowledge. Yeah, a bit more
Thank you.
life experience. So great to see all of you, and thank you again for watching the Coffee with Craig show. Click here to subscribe to the Coffee with Craig show, and don't forget to share it with your friends.